Today, we are diving deep into the story of Taiwan's largest land animal, which also happens to be its only native bear, the Formosan black bear. Now, this is an animal wrapped in legend, in law, and in a really complex relationship with the people who share its mountain home. So this isn't just about biology, you know? It's a story about where culture, conservation, and sheer survival all collide. And it really all starts with a fundamental conflict.
Right at the very heart of this story is a huge paradox. On one hand, the Formosan black bear is this cherished national symbol, kind of like a furry ambassador for Taiwan's amazing biodiversity. But if you talk to the communities actually living up in the mountains, the answer gets a lot more complicated. For them, it can be a real threat to their livestock, their crops, and maybe even their safety. And that duality, that's the tension we're going to unpack today.
And this tension isn't just theoretical. It recently blew up into national news with some really controversial hunting incidents. You see, for indigenous communities like the Dawu tribe, the bear means something totally different. In their tradition, hunting a bear can be a source of incredible honor for the community. So when you hear a quote like this, it's not about being malicious. It's about a deep, deep cultural identity that goes back generations, an identity that's now clashing head-on with modern conservation laws.
And the stakes in this conflict? Well, they could not be higher. We're not talking about an animal that's doing just fine. Scientists estimate there are only somewhere between 200 and 600 Formosan black bears left in the entire world. A number that low completely changes the game. It means every single interaction between a human and a bear isn't just a local problem anymore. It's a critical moment for the survival of an entire subspecies.
So if we really want to get our heads around this conflict, we've got to start with the animal itself. We need to understand the bear, its biology, its behavior, what it needs to survive. These are the things that are driving its actions, and ultimately its run-ins with the human world.
Alright, so here's the quick rundown on our bear. It's a special subspecies of the Asiatic black bear, and you can only find it here in Taiwan. Most people call it the moon bear, and that's because of that really cool V-shaped white or yellowish mark right on its chest. They mostly hang out in the central mountain range. And here's the kicker. Even though they're big carnivores, their diet is mostly plants. We're talking over 80%. So they're not always the fearsome predators people imagine them to be.
Now, here's a really fascinating little detail. You often hear that because Taiwan's winters are pretty mild, these bears just don't hibernate. They're up and about all year. But, you know, the real story is, well, it's a bit more complicated. And honestly, it's way more interesting than just taking a long nap. So instead of a true deep hibernation, they go into this state called metabolic slowdown. And just look at these numbers, they're incredible. Their body temp only drops a little bit, but their whole internal engine just slows to a crawl. Their metabolism can drop to a quarter of what it is in the summer. And their heart rate? It can go from a steady 55 beats per minute all the way down to just 14. Wow. It's this amazing way to save energy and get through the winter when food is scarce without having to completely check out.
And this brings us to just how much space they need. A single bear might have a home range of up to 202 square kilometers in a year. To give you some perspective, that's bigger than the entire city of Taipei. They need these huge, connected, and quiet forests to find enough food, to find a mate, and just to live their lives.
So, what happens when that need for space is taken away? Well, this data comes from a study on captive bears, and it really tells a story. Look at that. Almost 30% of their day is spent just pacing back and forth. That's what scientists call a stereotypic behavior, and it's basically a sign of stress. It's a huge red flag that shows you the kind of psychological toll that being cooped up takes on an animal that was built to roam free.
For the most part, their lives are pretty solitary. A cub is born and will spend about 2 years with its mom, learning absolutely everything it needs to know. But after that, the mom gets ready to mate again, and the young bear is sent off on its own. It starts a solitary life that can last for about 35 years in the wild. And that's a key point. They aren't social animals that hang out in groups.
And it's this solitary nature, this need for a huge territory, that brings us right back to the central problem. As we humans push deeper and deeper into the mountains with our farms, our roads, our hiking trails, the bear's world and our world are starting to seriously overlap. It's a collision of needs, really.
So let's just break down why this is happening. First, it's simple habitat overlap. We're moving into their house. Second, that leads to competition for resources. A bear that smells an easy meal at a farm doesn't know the difference between wild food and human food. It just knows it's hungry. And third, all of this creates a history of bad encounters, which builds a very real and very understandable fear of bears in these communities. And that makes living together that much harder.
And this, right here, is the core of the dilemma. On one side, you have traditional indigenous culture.
The bear is a powerful being, something to be respected but also feared, and hunting one is tied to honor and protecting your people. But on the other side, you have modern conservation law. The bear is a Class 1 protected species, and hurting one is illegal and comes with huge penalties. You've got two totally different worldviews, with different goals and different rules, playing out on the exact same piece of land.
So you hear all that, and you have to wonder, is coexistence even possible? Can we actually figure out a way to share the mountains? Well, the good news is a lot of very smart people are working on this, trying to shift the whole conversation from one of conflict to one of collaboration.
A big guiding light in all this work is a really simple principle from the International Union for Conservation of Nature: do no harm. And what's so important about this is that it applies to everyone. It means do no harm to the bears, absolutely. But it also means do no harm to the human communities who are living on the front lines of this issue every single day. It's a call for empathy, really.
So what does doing no harm look like in the real world? It's got to be a multi-layered approach. It means things like better protection for their core habitats in national parks. It means more research so we actually understand what the bear populations are doing. And maybe most importantly, it means working directly with mountain communities, education, creating bear-smart farms and campsites, and having really clear, trusted plans for what to do when a problem bear shows up.
At the end of the day, the future of the Formosan black bear isn't just up to conservationists or the people in the mountains. Its future really depends on all of us having a shared understanding and a shared sense of responsibility. And that brings us to our final and most critical question.
As more and more people head into the mountains for fun, and as bear sightings become just a little more common, Taiwan is in fact becoming a bear country. So the question that poses to everyone on this island is a big one. Are we truly ready for what that means? Are we ready to adapt, to learn, and to make the compromises we need to make to share this beautiful land with its biggest native animal? That's the question we'll leave you with today.